Any community far from its native land always seems particularly keen to make sure that ancient traditions are kept alive. And nowhere is that instinct more determined than here, not all that distant from the Glens in Northern Ireland. 200 Ulstermen, all of Scots descent, have assembled for the annual St Andrew's Day dinner, the dispatching of the haggis and the inevitable poetry of Burns.
Powers that make mankind your care and dish them out their beer. Old Scotland needs nae skinking ware that jops in luggies, but if you'd wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
The St Andrew's Day dinner is, of course, only one event on the Northern Ireland social calendar. There are, in fact, functions like this going on all over Ulster several times a week on every week of the year. And it would be quite unthinkable if all these functions were to go unrecorded.
Quite steady, please. Just that. Thank you very much. He's out of this one, please.
J.J. Brown is the chief photographer of Northern Ireland's highly successful journal of social chit-chat, the Ulster Tatler. It's described as the largest selling glossy magazine in the province, and whenever high society meets to make merry, the Ulster Tatler, in the form of the indefatigable J.J., is sure to be here as well, tactfully dragooning subjects into manageable groups.
Thank you, Mr. Wooding.
Ultimately, J.J.'s pictures will help to keep the 20,000 readers of the Ulster Tatler informed, if they didn't know already, about who went where, with whom, and in what regalia. And working alongside J.J. is Mrs. Gladys McCabe.
Which part of Scotland?
She's the editor of the Tatler, and it's her job to quarry out all those gossipy bits of information that her readers want to hear.
Described of all the previous presidents. Very interesting. I report on all sorts of functions like this one. Well, they cover women's, men's organisations, dinners, organisations concerned with sport, all sorts of things that you wouldn't believe were going on in the north of Ireland at the present time.
When you come to a function like this, what sort of things are you looking for?
Generally, I'm looking for women who are dressed in an attractive or extreme fashion. But tonight, of course, there aren't such things or such beings, this being a male function. But I like to look for interesting people, ask people what their jobs are if I haven't met them before, what they're doing, why they're at a certain function, what their interests are, business life and so on.
I've been in a picture.
The Ulster Tatler has always maintained its own distinctive way of looking at life in Northern Ireland, obviously avoiding any reference to anything connected with what people here tend to refer to as the Troubles. In fact, leafing through the Tatler, the only impression you'd ever get of what's going on here is that life is one continuous round of receptions, dinner dances and hunt balls. Take last March, for instance, the month when Stormont was suspended and when direct rule was imposed, when a mass rally of thousands of Protestant loyalists was addressed by Mr. William Craig and Mr. Brian Faulkner. The Ulster Tatler for that month reports the Northern Ireland Keep Fit Association's dinner dance and the Scrabbo Golf Club's annual dinner. In May, when the official IRA, you'll remember, declared their ceasefire, the Ulster Tatler for that month reports the Royal National Lifeboat Institution's coffee morning and bring and buy sale, a National Trust poetry reading, and there's a travel feature on the Bahamas. Every weekend brings full of wedding photographs from proud mothers-in-law all over Ulster, everywhere from Portrush to Portadown, from Ballymoney to Donaghadee. There are so many pictures every week that it's often impossible for the editorial staff to squeeze them all in. And this is in spite of the fact that the magazine is now bigger than ever. The latest bumper Christmas number has 140 pages. And that's more than at any time since the first Tatler rolled off the presses here 6 years ago.
We're probably the only people who are covering these particular functions, and this is why the Tatler is popular.
But why is it, do you think, that people want to read about these functions?
Well, the people like to see themselves in print, they like to see their photographs. If a woman has spent maybe 20 or 30 or 40 pounds on a dress, it's nice to be able to see that reproduced in the paper. Or if a bride spends £100, and before we were in production nobody ever saw that, and now we're able to show this dress to everybody other than just the people who were at the reception.
Is it some sort of escapism that people in Northern Ireland like seeing this sort of thing?
Probably is a wee bit of escapism. Probably we've sort of done well out of this in a way on the escapism side.
What's the editorial policy of the Ulster Tetler?
Well, the policy is to cover social events and weddings.
But how is it that you've been able to escape from the troubles in the way you've been covering things?
Well, we haven't really escaped. We've had our windows were blown in a couple of times and this sort of thing. And wouldn't say, of course, in our homes we're all kind of a bit nervous about the troubles. But, you know, we just keep going.
But anybody looking at the Ulster Tetler and coming to Northern Ireland for the first time wouldn't dream that there was anything else going on here.
Well, that's probably true. That's true. Well, this is our job to cover these functions, and this is what. As long as the functions go on, we'll cover them.
Excellent.
So whatever happens next month on the streets of Northern Ireland, one thing's certain. J.J. Brown and his photographic colleagues will be making sure that no one of note can possibly escape the attentions of the Ulster Tatler.
Thank you very much. That's grand. Thank you.